Okay, so I'm going to talk about being completely 100% obedient to God, even when it's weird or even we don't understand. Okay, so in our walk with God, sometimes God's going to call us to do things that we don't understand why. Okay, because we don't understand the thoughts of God. We don't understand everything all the time. So I have a story to tell you guys. This is completely true, and this happened in my life, and it taught me a really big lesson about this. Okay, so one night I was driving home, and I was on a back road in Waterloo, and it was nighttime. Okay, and so I just wanted to get home, and there was some trash on the side of the road, and God said, "Pick up that trash." And, I was kind of like, what? I don't understand. I don't want to pick up that trash. I was kind of being snotty about it. I didn't have a very good attitude. And so I kind of tried to ignore it, which is not the thing to do, by the way, but I did it. So I tried to ignore it, and I couldn't. So I turned around, and I'm stopped on the side of the road picking up this trash, and it was gross. It was like beer cans and just old things that I didn't want to pick up, and just a bunch of random stuff. And so I started picking it up, and every time I would just try to ignore the trash, and then I would have to turn around and get it because I couldn't ignore it. The voice was, I felt so compelled to get it. So I just kept on doing this, and by the end of the road, I was just getting tired of picking up the trash. I just wanted to go home, and I'm like, am I going to pick up every single piece of trash in this entire road? And so I started, I don't know if you can see this, putting my hands up so that I didn't have to see the trash. I was kind of blocking my views on the side of the road. And I was looking kind of upward as I was driving because I knew that if I saw it, I had to stop and get it. And I know, again, I don't encourage this kind of attitude, but it's the truth. That's what I had. And so, I was just kind of looking up, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I was just getting frustrated. I'm like, why am I picking up this trash, God? Like, I understand that you want the roads to be clean and stuff, I guess, but I don't understand why I have to pick this up. It's like, it's dark, it's nighttime, this is dangerous, I want to go home, blah, blah. I was just complaining, and all of a sudden, it was so clear to me, and I'm like, man, that makes so much sense, God. And you have to know that I'm called to be a missionary. I don't know how, I don't really know all the details, but I know that's my calling. And so God said, you're gonna pick up people who the world considers to be trash. And I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense now why you had me do that, because he was teaching me, he was showing me what I'm going to be doing and how it's not going to be always be comfortable, and it's not going to be the most fun thing, and I'm going to have to pick them up and take them in my car and take them home with me, and I was also worried because I'm like, well, these are beer cans. What if I get pulled over? What if my friends see this and they think I've been drinking or something like that? And so, sometimes in the world when there's undesirable people, we're like, well, I don't want to be seen with that person, or, So long story short, God asked me to do something that I thought was ridiculous. And after reluctantly, I did it. And through it, God spoke something into my life that was incredibly encouraging, and it really helped me to remember that is still my calling. Okay. And so it was very rewarding. And I've heard stories like this where God asked people to do something ridiculous in order to accomplish something, because we see things one way, but it's like we're, how there's like those corn mazes, okay? So we're like the person in the corn maze who doesn't know where we're going. God is standing above the corn maze, and he's looking down, and he sees where the dead ends are, and he sees how things are going to work out. So when he says to do something a certain way and we don't get it, it's because he knows what's best and we don't. And so sometimes we're like, well, that doesn't make sense, because we don't see the full picture like God does, and sometimes he'll tell us to do something that's weird just to test us, just to see how obedient we are, because it doesn't matter if it's something that makes 100%, if it makes total sense, or if it's something that doesn't make sense. We're called to be obedient. And not only am I talking about things that don't make sense, but things that scare us. Sometimes God might tell you to go walk up to a complete stranger and tell them something, and we have to be obedient immediately, okay? And I am a firm believer that obedience is not something that you do reluctantly or later on. It's something that you do right away. If my mom says, clean your room, it shouldn't be 2 days later like, oh, I'm cleaning my room now. It should be, I'm doing it when she asks me to do it, saying yes, ma'am, and not questioning her. And so I feel like that is something that we don't really do. And so I have a verse, and it's Hebrews 11:8. And it says, by faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. So Abraham, it was unknown. He had no idea where he was going. But by faith, he obeyed and he went. And so sometimes in our life, God's going to take us places where we don't know where we're going. We feel kind of like we're blindfolded and we have that nervous moment, like, where am I going to end up? Where are you taking me right now? But that's where faith comes in. And that's where truly trusting God comes in, to know that he is leading us where we're supposed to be. Okay, and so if God is doing something in your life right now where it doesn't make sense, you're kind of questioning what the point of any of it is, if you're going through a season where you don't really know why you're struggling with the things you are, just know that God knows what he's doing. He always knows what he's doing. He's in control, and he's going to teach you something from that. He has a purpose for telling you to do weird things that we think are weird, and he has a purpose for leading you through places where you would have never thought that you would go, because it's all part of God's perfect plan. And so our job is, whenever he speaks to us, is to be obedient right away. I believe in immediate obedience. And so be obedient right away. Don't question him. Just do anything he says, because that's when he's going to bless you. And so, yeah, that's what I think. Thanks.